tell me again how to say goodbye.
Kiss me and tell me you love me.
I love you.
What's up, hackers? Welcome to Chill Code. I gotta change this Chiron. We are doing Chrome extensions tonight. This is something a little bit interstitial. I have a couple of other projects kind of larger that I'm ramping up to, but not ready to jump in on. So I thought what we might do tonight is explore something that I've played with in the past and actually written a couple of Chrome extensions. They're really interesting for a couple of reasons to me. One, as a web guy, they're this interesting kind of like middle place between an application and a web application. They live on the client machine, right? They have a presence on the file system. They have a presence on the file system actually outside the browser, sort of. But they exist inside of the browser. And to me, that's interesting because, and then even in the browser, they're independent to a degree of the document, right? That's inside of the tab. When you think about JavaScript that we run inside of a web page, right, their environment is that document. That's their universe. But Chrome extensions are funny. They have their own like bubble universe that are associated outside but related to that document and to the browser itself. There's a lot going on there, and certainly we know that there are malicious Chrome extensions. So I wanted to kind of dive into, one, how to make a Chrome extension, right? How do you do it at all? And then how do you do something maybe a little bit malicious, maybe a little bit more offensively minded with Chrome extensions? What does that look like? So that's the plan for tonight. Yeah, that's a little bit of a chiller tune situation. So if you're interested in that, to get started, I would recommend getting yourself a Chromium-based browser. I'm going to use Brave for this, and I've created a new Brave profile, and we'll talk about why I'm doing that in just a second. But the other thing that you probably are going to want is the documentation, and so obviously Google has pretty solid documentation on the extension API, and so we're going to take a look at that and kind of build out a demo extension as our test. As I said, I have written a Chrome extension or two in the past, and in particular, the one that I use pretty frequently in real life is this thing called Titler. And Titler it's really stupid, but because of the APIs that I use in it, it was banned from the Chrome Web Store, interestingly, because there are some things that you could maybe get into trouble with. But basically what Titler does is it allows you to change the tab's title. And it does it in such a way that it also will store the URL in its own little history in local storage, so that if you load the same URL again, you can reload the title and it'll change it back. It's not interesting, really, but I found it useful for my own purposes. What I use Titler for is basically if I'm working with a bunch of Splunk queries, all of my tabs will start looking the same because they'll all say search along the top, right? And that wasn't helpful for me. So what I did was I wrote this extension so I could rename each tab to the actual title that I wanted. And that's weirdly not a feature anywhere. I couldn't find it as a thing you could do. So we're going to talk about how to do this. It's been a minute since I've touched this thing, but we'll use this as kind of a base and move on from there. So broadly, what is a Chrome extension? They kind of come in three flavors. We click on getting started here. Yeah, they'll tell you that there's like, I guess, two flavors really, but there's background scripts and then content scripts, but there are extensions that have no UI. There are extensions that have kind of a drop-down UI, which would be like Wappalizer here. And there are extensions that have their own page that opens up. And actually, Proxy Switchy Omega is a good example of that. So for example, if I click on Proxy Switchy Omega, which I'm not going to use tonight, but if I click on options, right, it has its own page. You can even see that the URL here is Chrome extension. That's the URL scheme, taking me to this options folder. or this weird ID and then an options.html. It's not doing anything for me right now, which is kind of interesting. There we go. Because it's built in React for whatever reason. Anyway, or Angular, I should say. And it's a web page, right? It has I can expect it. I can do what I need to do with it. And it has a presence outside of the browser. So that's going to be like the first thing we talk about as we go into it. So, but yeah, as I said, there are UI-based extensions, there are non-UI-based extensions, and they have background scripts, content scripts, options pages, which is kind of what we're looking at here, UI elements, and various logic files, which is just raw JavaScript. You can write a Chrome extension with any technology that you've written any other web app with. So if you wanted to do it with TypeScript, you could do it. If you wanted to do it with Elm, if you're insane, you can do it. Angular, React, like pick your favorite front end flavor. You can do it and make a Chrome extension with it. Now, whether you need to or not is another question. I mean, how heavy do you need the Chrome extension to be? And then what other APIs are exposed to Chrome extensions? And that's really where things start getting interesting. And we look at the API reference for that. And we can see that there are some new things that are inside of Chrome that you get access to in addition to like the JavaScript, like the ECMAScript library or the DOM API that you would expect. Things like browser actions, browsing data. Okay, and a few other things. So we're going to take a look at these and see what kind of sensitive information we can maybe extract, modify, whatever. Yeah, that's the plan. But to get started, we do have to create a manifest, and a manifest is just a manifest.json file. It looks like this. And there's a certain structure to the file, the folder that you would need to use if you wanted to eventually pack it up and load the thing into the Chrome Web Store. You also need a developer account. They need to review it. It's a whole thing, just like any other app review process. We're not going to be doing that tonight. Instead, we're going to be doing kind of the developer mode version of this. And let me show you how to do that in Brave. It works the same in Chromium or Opera or whatever browser you're using. So you go to your browser's extensions page, and you can see I have one extension installed, and that was just to basically demo what extensions look like. And I'm going to enable developer mode. And this opens these other buttons, right? Load, unpacked. Depending on the browser, these buttons will look different, but they'll all work pretty much the same way. We're going to load unpacked, and I'm going to head over to projects and titler and source. And click OK. And you can notice that now I have titler. It had a fave icon and all this stuff. I actually should see it up here if I pin it. They've got an extension. Hey, Digital Warhead, good to see you. And sure enough, if I go over to let's open a real page, right? Why not? If I use titler here, I can call this like the worst website. If I change title, it makes it that, right? It is not complicated. If I reload the page, right, that goes away, but because local storage actually has that, I can reload the title and it'll put it back in. That's kind of it. It's not complicated, but we can use this as kind of a starting point for how extensions work. So, how do extensions work? Let's go over to titler here and open up the folder in code. Yes, I trust the authors. The authors is me. So obviously we want to be a source. This is manifest.json. There's no secrets in here. But basically you describe the name, the version, a description. This is all Chrome Web Store stuff. This is how you get it up in the web store. And you also have to submit screenshots and things like that. This next part though, manifest version 2, there's no manifest version 3, so we may modify this for our new extension. But then you have to declare your permissions. I needed local storage, declarative content, which allows me to like actually write stuff to the UI, and then active tab. And this active tab permission was the one that got me in trouble. But it's necessary in order to do what I was doing, right? Changing the tab's title. But they don't like you doing that. This is the browser action, meaning basically this is what creates the UI. Default pop-up is index.html, and then content scripts. Like so. And then this is the icon. You can have different sized icons that are listed here. This is pretty similar to how other app packaging methodologies would work, depending on, even for things like Android applications or whatever else. It's going to look something like this, whether it's an XML or JSON or what. This is the index.js. This is kind of what does the work. And we have get tab. We're loading the tab. We get the tab's URL, get the titles, and setting the titles. And this change title, this is actually loaded up into the index.html. This is the UI that you saw in that popover, right? Where it's very, very simple, right? Just a basic form. It's got some CSS, sort of. Yeah, it's got some CSS, but like whatever. And just a form. And then a JavaScript file attached to it. ContentScript.js not doing a whole lot. Except that I need it to work. Hey, Mr. PC Fix-It. Basically, what's going on in the content script is that there's this thing going on in the background that is responding to messages that I send from the front end. And that's how the tab URL and title is handled. So basically, this thing is listening, waiting for change title and get tab URL messages from the front end. And when it does, we get the response of the document.title and the document.location.href. Basically, this is my connection to the document that allows me to get that information and change those things. But I need to do that with this send message, chrome.tabs.send message function. And notice that there are no imports of Chrome anywhere in here. That's because I don't need to, because it's already made available to me in the runtime environment. So if we go back to here, ColorZilla, let me pop up the inspector here. Nope, don't want to be in that one. I want to be in... Actually, will this work? Yeah, if I go to inspect, it pops up the inspector for my little extension here. And if I go to console, let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. If I type in Chrome, look, it's a thing. It has properties. Right? If I ask for chrome.permissions, dot what? Get all. No matching signature. Yeah. So I can't necessarily directly invoke them, but that is what's going on. The Chrome API is kind of inside of there, so I have access to it. All right, let's make a new extension. Real easy. So we'll start with the manifest. Very much, we're going to kind of go through their walkthrough at first. And this is version 3 of the manifest, so it is slightly different than what I've done in the past. So I'm going to quickly just, I have a folder up here that I'm going to use here. I'm going to touch manifest.json, touch index.html, and touch index.js, and then touch content script .js as well, assuming that we're going to need a content script running in the background to do some stuff. And then I'm going to open up VS Code in this folder so that we can play with it. Yes, I trust the authors. All right, in you go. Terrible pasting job. Okay. Call this an evil extension. Description. Can I just put emoji in here? I can, but I'm on Linux, so emoji are tricky. I mean, it'll work, but God. I want Plasma to make this better, because it's awful right now. Version. We'll use semvar, so it's 0.1.0. Semver, I should say. And manifest version 3. Now we have to decide what kind of a thing it is. So background scripts, like many other important codes, supposed to be registered. Registering a background script in the manifest tells the manifest which file to reference and how the file should behave. So a service worker. We can do a service worker. Let's do one. Let's make background.js as well. Background.js. And we'll fill that in. And yeah, I mean, we're doing this as kind of tonight's project, but as always, if there's any AMA, any questions, feel free to ask. I treat this as like office hours. Not that question, though. And then chrome.runtime.on installed. Do we have... Yeah, I like this. Chrome extension support. This will do syntax completion for Chrome stuff. That'll be helpful for us. Oh. No, it won't. Never mind. That's fine, though. Chrome.runtime.on installed. And we can look that up to see what we can do here. Add listener. Ah. I don't think that's not the right add listener, but it's fine. And the add listener takes an object. And the object is going to look like so. Callback. And then we're just going to do one of these. Console.log. I'm alive. Just to get going. Okay. So all the manifest knows about right now is the background. The background worker, right? So what we're going to do is in our extensions, Chrome storage default. Yeah, let's give this a shot. So, like I said, we're going to load unpacked, similar to how we did this before. And then instead of loading titler, we're going to try the Crext folder. And notice that it picked up the manifest, right? So it says an evil extension. Failed to load resource. Error. Blocked by client. So it actually blocked some JS that I had. And the reason is because I didn't give it any permissions. Right? Where are my Chrome extension permissions? Here we go. Declare permissions. Can I just have a list of... Yeah, thank you. Here we go. Permissions. Bookmarks. Interesting. So we want the debugger permission. Yikes. And where's the active tab permission? Because I actually think that's close to what I want. Okay. Now, in order to make this work, I'm pretty sure I have to reload the extension, like so. And then okay, the tag manager is blocked by the client, but I think I'm just doing something dumb here. Like, I'm using console in a context that I can't use it. That's fine. Just move on to the things that we can do. Right. So if we wanted to give the thing a UI in the front, we would also give it an action, which is a default pop-up, but that's not all we can do with it. Default title, default pop-up. Actions pop-up will only be shown when the user clicks on the extension's action button in the toolbar. So it's kind of where we're going with this. Hey, Technique. We're writing Chrome extensions. So we're going to declare the default pop-up here in our manifest. And thank you, by the way, for the resub. Really appreciate that. In our index.html, let's make some boilerplate HTML here. That should be in a head. I swear I've written HTML before, a time or two. There we go. And then we're going to do script source equals index.js. And we're going to take that background.js. And we're also going to take that console.log and put that in the index.js just because. Okay. Let's go ahead and reload the extension. Notice that I now have a UI. It is as small as it needs to be right now because there's no CSS defining its size. If we wanted it to have a specific size, we would use some styling to make it that size. But even from here, I can inspect it and notice that the console for this is saying I'm alive because now I have a console to hook into basically. Right? Now also keep in mind that this is the front end. So basically all of the JavaScript in this index.js, it exists here. Well, not there. Different extension here. So for example, if I were to put a button in here, right? Equals demo button. And I'll add an event listener to it over here. So we'll do document.querySelector. Keep in mind that the document in question here, as far as this file is concerned, is this. That's it, not the active tab. And that is a crucial difference, right? Understand that right now we're just talking about. I don't need to do query selector. I can just do get element by ID. What do I call that thing? Demo button. Dot add event listener. We'll do a click. And we don't need the E. We're just going to do alert clicked. Just because. Look, a pop-up happened. But notice that it's this document that we're concerned with, right? Not any of the active tab stuff. If we wanted to get access to the active tab, how would we do it? That is where we need to go to the... Apologies if you can hear, like, aircraft in the background. But sometimes helicopters decide that my house is part of the approach path. So in order to... The audio sounds good? Oh, thank you. The noise canceller on OBS is quite impressive. I've been very happy with it, and I'm quite happy with this microphone now that it is directly under my face. It's been a good solid piece of kit for me for some time. It's the Rode Podcaster microphone, if you're curious. It's a USB mic, but it's like an actually okay USB mic. Normally, I'd be very like, yeah. What mic do you have? I'll see if I can find it. It's the I assume they still make this model. Usually if you like look up Rode podcast mic, it is the first one that pops up. No, it's the Rode NT USB. It is actually on sale right now. It's 44% off. It's been that way forever though. Yeah, the Rode NT USB condenser microphone. That's, you know what? It's messed up. It's actually not a condenser. It's funny that they're calling it that because it's actually cardioid. But whatever. NVIDIA Broadcast has great noise removal too. Yeah, I've heard that. I've also heard, God. Oh, right, that the Valve Index has this unbelievable microphone on it that whatever, like they did some weird sorcery with multiple microphones and some really good math to figure out noise isolation, right? And so that the microphone on the Valve Index is like pro tier, and it's so good that people have asked Valve to basically just strip those components out and sell it as a headset because it is good enough to work on its own like that. I wouldn't know. I don't have a Valve Index. But this is what I've heard about their microphones. Green Jenny, thank you for the follow. The best I can do with really good math is not get audited. I mean, hey, take the W where you can, you know? And at least you have really good math. That is not something that I was blessed with. I basically learned to code so that I could get away without doing math. To a certain degree. Okay, so if we wanted to get access to like the actual tab that we're on, as we saw, we needed the permissions, right, of the active tab. And there is the tabs.execute script. But the funny thing with the Chrome.tabs API... Oh, is it? It's Chrome.scripting execute script. Interesting. So we're in Manifest v3, so scripting that execute script. Does that mean we need the scripting permission? We're in Chrome scripting. Permission scripting. Yes, we do. That's cool. So this is new. Let's add the scripting permission. Hey, Yassine. Right, but notice that we need the tab ID, and this is the part that gets a little bit interesting. So we need to get the tab ID. This is tab ID, get tab ID. That should work. But it won't work from here. Right, so this is not a... This runs elsewhere. This doesn't run in this, in this context. Like, if I... We'll try it. We'll do, like... Green Jenny, way too many galaxies if the JWST is accurate. You know what? I think it's plenty of galaxies. I don't know if it's too many. I think it's profoundly unknowable and beautiful how much cosmos there is out there. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I've never grasped the negative connotation of that realization. I've never gotten it. How can it be anything more than awe-inspiring to be a part of something so unknowably vast, and to be sentient, to experience it? Carl Sagan said, we are a way for the universe to know itself. And I really do believe that. I think it may be unique, who knows, or at least exceedingly rare for life to organize into a sentient form. And so that we get to experience that experience at all is something that we get to possess, is, I think, special. All right, we're going to try this just to show you that it's tab ID will not work from this context. And that's why we have to do kind of message sending back and forth between the background and the foreground. And we'll console.log tab ID, which is going to be like undefined or something. Don't overthink it. We're not alone. Brandon, don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I don't for a moment think that we are the only sentient life out there. But I do have a suspicion that, at least on balance, it's exceedingly rare. And certainly rare enough to make it difficult to contact other sentient species at the speed of light. All right, let's reload this extension. So if we inspect this, you'll see that we already have an error, right? Get tab ID is not defined because it's not part of the front end API. We don't have access to this. So instead, we basically need to write a content script. Hey, Math Zeta. So we're going to have to write, it's inevitable that we'll make contact with another species, but probably not in our lifetimes. That is not accurate. Sorry, that is just not accurate. And it hasn't been accurate ever since even the naive calculations of the Drake equation. That's the whole point. That's why it's so scary. It is not inevitable at all that we would make contact. Right? So the basics of the Drake equation are, and you know, it is naive, but it's a good starting point for the conversation, right? Which is like the number of civilizations, n is the number of civilizations in our galaxy with which communication might be possible, which are on our current past light cone. So that's already a limiting factor, right? And then is the average rate of star formation in our galaxy times the fraction of those stars that have planets times the average number of planets that can potentially support life per star that has planets. And we have much better information about this now than we did when the Drake equation was proposed. The fraction of planets that could support life that actually developed life at some point, we still are waiting on the resolution to really see that, right? The exoplanets that we're seeing are mostly larger. If they're rocky, they're pretty big, but you know, a lot of them are kind of like Jupiter-sized or slightly smaller. The fraction of planets with life that actually go on to develop intelligent life. So again, this is a fraction of the above fraction. And then the fraction of civilizations that develop a technology that releases detectable signs of their existence into space. And then this is the kicker: the length of time for which such civilizations release detectable signals into space. That, for me, is the kicker, right? Where the civilization has to exist. It has to exist on a different time horizon than us, right? Or close enough. Over under 40 years, I think you're underestimating by at least one order of magnitude. Brandon. I really do. I think that it is, you're talking about centuries. And the reason I think that is because we have to have a massive uptick in investment in the resolution of telescopes to detect smaller planets, right? To find planets and then analyze the spectra of their atmospheres to find evidence of like hydrocarbons and the stuff that we know that we've admitted, although that's no guarantee that other civilizations would. Other than that, we're just kind of like waiting for radio signals, right? And that's a pretty rough waiting game, especially as the initial right number. We're talking about our light cone, our past light cone, right? Which is a fraction of the galaxy. So, as much as I absolutely believe, and I feel like all of the math and all of the probabilistic calculation bears out that there is certainly other sentient life somewhere in the galaxy, to say nothing of the universe, until such time that we develop, if it is possible to develop superluminal travel and communication, we're a little stuck. And by the way, I very much want to believe that superluminal travel and communication are possible. I really do. The energy requirements, though, so far are kind of like, what is it? At least Kardashev type 1. The dumbest possible civilization scale that's ever been invented. The Kardashev scale. What is it? Kardashev type 1 is use the entire energy of their home planet, and we're nowhere near that. Type 2 is the entire energy of their solar system, so that's like a Dyson sphere. And then a Kardashev type 3 is the entire energy of their home galaxy. Why is it that scale? It's insane. Okay, so we can't get the tab from inside of here. So what we basically have to do is we have to do a send message. Imagine needing that much power. I know. Well, and it's interesting, like, I think this has been revised downward, but the initial calculations for the Alcubierre warp drive were like, yes, you can bend space-time. Kardashev Type 2 civs can always get the tab ID. That's right. They don't need a special context. I like it. I think like the latest calculations on the Alcubierre warp drive are like, yes, we can technically compress space-time. Math says we can do it. But in order to do it, we need like a Jupiter's mass worth of antimatter to do it. And that's a lot. I think a later calculation basically said, no, we could do a warp bubble with a like a couple of school buses worth of antimatter. The problem is that we've never produced more than a like 100,000th of a gram of antimatter at any one time, and it's not stable, right? Also, I gotta tell you, the Alcubierre warp drive. Well, yeah, you need exotic. That's what I mean. It's like antimatter, and then, which you've never made, right? Is that true for the Alcubierre drive? You need exotic matter and antimatter? But yeah, like the idea that you're going to build a machine that like an old school, I don't know, I'm probably too old for anyone else to. You need negative energy density, right? If there was this old toy basically that had two ropes and a football thing that went between them. And basically, you and a friend stood on either side, and you would transfer the ball back and forth between you by expanding the lines that you were holding, right? And that's kind of like what the Alcubierre drive does, right? But the idea that you'd build a machine, a human machine, that would accurately, precisely, I should say, compress space-time X amount and expand it X amount on the other side of the warp bubble without doing anything wrong seems unlikely. I think probably if it would work at all, you would essentially create like divots in space of compressed space-time, like slipstreams, which would be no good to come across and may have other implications, right? And then there's also that other problem of like what happens when you stop. Okay, I'm not a physicist. I just like warp drive. Let's talk to some tabs. We actually can create a warp sand trap. That's right. This solar system is a par 7. Come on. Basically what I need is welcome to programming. How many tabs of documentation can I get up at once? Oh my god, you're the worst. Hold on. I'm just going to cheat and look at titler as a basis here. Chrome source JS index. So the way this works is chrome.tabs. Yeah, there it is. Tabs is what we need. Matt Zeta, so basically we're just playing around with extensions. It can be for whatever we want. I want to demonstrate kind of the cool stuff you can do with them though. So things that I have in mind, looking at things like history, browsing history, looking at potentially content, modifying content, pretty scary. And then also there is a way to proxy content, which is interesting, right? And we've seen that obviously because of Proxy Switchy Omega. But there's a way to do it transparently. And then we're going to talk a little bit about where these things live. Okay, so I want the tabs. Come on. Have a tabs. Just tab capture, tab groups, tabs. Let's see if Chrome scripting will do it for us. If we do like chrome.scripting. Yeah, no, there's still execute ID because we still need the tab ID. Right. So regardless, we need the tabs API. Are extensions portable between browsers or unique to individual browsers? That is a really good question. So the structure of all Chromium-based extensions is going to be the same. So I can take an extension for Chrome and I can load it into Brave, Opera, Edge, any browser based on Chromium. That's going to be fine. Firefox is slightly different, but not that different. Meaning that if you had source code that was targeted at a Chrome extension, if you wanted to make a Firefox extension for it, you could do so with minimal changeover. It's like slight differences in the APIs and the manifest structure. Okay, so the chrome.tabs, right? This is kind of how this works. Bost is giving the more accurate answer, which depends on the browser engine if it's modified. Okay, most of the major browsers are not going to futz with the browser engine in such a way that extensions are going to be impacted. And again, to my point, Opera, Brave, Edge, Vivaldi. I think you'll be fine. I'm on Mosaic 1. Will that work? Ah, I see. Another old. I saw somebody was playing with the Mosaic browser and trying to load modern sites on it. No, it will not. So this is what they have in background.js, and this is kind of what we're going to work on. Is this get current tab. Chrome to tabs that query options. Chris Kane, thank you for the follow. Additionally, content scripts cannot use tabs.query. Right, because again, we are inside of essentially the browser, above any specific document. That's kind of the way that I think about them. As I was saying as we were getting started, it's like a bubble universe. So basically, we're going to do like a Chrome tabs dot send message. And the way that this works... let me reopen the titler index.js. You can kind of see that we do a Chrome tabs send message. This is with the tab ID though. If we want the... Oh, this is straight up doing it. It says chrome.tabs.query active true. Huh. I guess we can do it from the front. My bad. Cool. Well, we basically need these. But I'm going to change this up. This is old code. A couple of lightweight Chromium forks have stripped out so much stuff from Google, which will affect the add-on parts. Ah, cool. So edge cases that rarely matter. Yes, it is true. We hackers love to find edge cases, but I do find that when answering questions, they're less helpful. While we're on there was a crazy browser that I tried not too long ago. Was it the Nixt browser? Yeah, this thing is wild. I don't even like. I'd have to remember how to work with it. But it's like all keyboard based. It's like working in Vim as your browser, or Tmux as your browser. This thing is wild. It was fun to play with, and then it's scripted in, I want to say Lisp or something. Yeah, it's scripted in Lisp. Dang. 1 second, friends. I have to take this call. I am sorry about that. Sorry, friends. I hate that. I hate doing that. But some family medical stuff going on, and so if I get a call, sometimes I have to answer the phone. Okay, but yeah, let's update this get tab. So that it works for us. I shouldn't need this here in the background.js because we're not doing anything crazy with that just yet. But we do need index.js. So let's make this happen. So what we're going to do is function get tab. God, this indentation is wild. But okay. And then we're going to make it async. And as an async, we don't need this return new promise. It's just going to return itself. So we're going to say something to the effect of, let tab equal await. Top level async. Yeah. Because you're working against Chrome's engine, so it knows what to do with that. It's on a callback. Oh, is that why I did it that way? I think that's why I did it that way. Yeah. I was like, I knew how async await worked when I wrote this code. So I must have had some reason for doing it. The reason why I did a manual promise here is because it's messy with the callback, right? So basically chrome.tabs.query, we're querying for active true, current window true. And then what we get back is an array of tabs. And then with that, we're going to say tab 0, and then we resolve the tab. And because I'm doing that manually with the promise, right, that allows me to get the actual tab out of this function. That's what's going on there. And in fact, if you see how I use it, yeah, I'm using it as an await because I can do that inside of async functions. Perfect. So to show that, we'll do an async function alert tab. And we'll say const tab equals await get tab. And then we'll alert tab .id. And we'll make our event listener do that thing. All right, cool. So we're getting tab IDs, and that's like the first step toward being able to do stuff. Because now that we have the tab ID, now we can actually affect things in the current tab, right? Before we go any further, I want to show you where this stuff lives on the file system because it's less inaccessible than you might think. And yes, I could do this in the terminal, but I actually want to show it to you for real. So I'm just going to go to .config, Brave software. Now, if it's Chrome, it's going to be Google. It's going to be something like this. But even inside of the Brave browser folder, it's going to look something like this. And if you've never had to look in this folder, I am so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. I have had to do it a lot for a number of K-12 education reasons. One of the problems I had to solve for a while was I had to create a user account that was not a guest account. It had to have persistent data. Guest account wasn't going to cut it on Macs. But we were talking about kids from like 3rd grade to 8th grade at this point, right? And guess what? They could not be trusted to log out of their Google accounts or whatever else they were using at the end of their browser session. And also, like, I didn't want their browsing history to impact the next user, right? So it had to be kind of like a greenfield new account every time somebody opened up the browser. In order to do that, and you all may have a much better solution than what I came up with, but what I came up with was basically a script that listened for writes in a specific folder. And if there wasn't any writes for like 60 seconds, because the default folder, right, has things like the user history and whatever. This is your default profile in Chromium-based browsers, right? This is your profile. Notice also that there's going to be another one in here other than default, and this may be profile 1. Yeah. And this is the profile 1 is my additional profile, right? But default is the default profile, the one that you just get when you open a browser. And the point is that I had a script watch for file writes in here, and in particular, like the cookies or the history database, right? I watched for writes on this. And if there weren't any writes in 60 seconds or whatever, it would just blow the profile away. And this worked. I think it was longer than 60 seconds, but basically it worked. And so when the next user went to use the machine, regardless of whether a student had logged in or logged out, it was always a fresh Chrome profile for them, so that there was no user history that was left for them to happen upon. Hey, Dad, Mom, thank you so much for the follow. But while we're here inside of this folder, I don't want to be in default because that's not really where I want to live. But if we look in profile 1, which is, as I said, profile 1 is the profile I've created here. If I go into extensions, you will see two things. The first one you'll see is this BHLN Nick whatever, and that was if you look at it, we'll open up the manifest.json. What was this? That's ColorZilla. That was the color picker that I installed specifically for this purpose, right? And this is kind of how these extensions are named. There's nothing in temp right now. And I wanted to point out where these things live in the browser support folder. By the way, on Mac OS, this is going to be at your like library application support, Google Chrome. That's where that would live. On Windows, it's going to be in app data, right? So the places where applications store their data, that's where that lives. So on Linux, it's .config. But the folder structure is the same regardless of your operating system. Did your script only delete the profile or also securely erase the empty space afterwards? Best. No, it just deleted it because I'm not zeroing out bytes to avoid fourth graders. Also, you do not want to mess with the raw sectors in HFS or APFS. That's a great way to destroy your your disk. All right, let's do something interesting. So we have active tab and we have the scripting API. In order to make use of it, this is what I wanted to open. I just was messing up. Okay, so Chrome.scripting, right? So we're going to do Chrome.scripting. Now that we have a tab ID, we can actually execute scripts. And injected code. Extensions can specify the code. So the file will be script.js, or it can be a function. But the script is the easiest way to do it. So what we'll do here is instead of doing the alert tab, we'll just call it this, like, do a thing. And then in contentscript.js, we're going to do document.write. So many things popping up. Just some evil here. I don't know why I all caps that H1. There we go. Okay. Now, so tab, then we're going to do chrome.scripting.execute script. The target is going to be tab.id. And the files are going to be contentscript.js. And change this to do a thing. Very good. So this ooh, interesting. Didn't work. I wonder why. Let's inspect. Let's find out why. Cannot read properties of undefined. Reading execute script. Ooh. All right, I got something wrong. Let's find out what. Oh, there's a callback. That's what that was. Probably should have expected that. Still no? Cannot read properties undefined. Reading execute script. Oh dear. Chrome.scripting.execute is not available. That's interesting. This function will be executed in the context of the injection target. However, this will not carry over any of the current execution context. Let's read more about the scripting, because you can use inject JavaScript and CSS into websites. I mean, yeah, we got the scripting permission. You can use the target parameter to specify target. Only field required is tab ID. Ooh, wait. Did I do that right? I think maybe I did not. I didn't. That was wrong. Should have been like that. But regardless, it seems like Chrome.scripting wasn't available, which was the problem. Ooh. Well, that should help. The errors button is real nice. What's the problem now? Get tab ID is not defined. Here we go. Cannot read properties. So this is the... I don't know if that was current, though. Yeah, okay, so those were logged. Those were logged errors. So with this reloaded... Yeah, there we go. So we just destroyed the context of the... We just destroyed the context of the window, and we made a pop-up happen. That was the follow-on. But you could imagine, like, this was with scripting, right? But let's, now that we have this capability, like, what else could we do? What if I had a session cookie that just sorry, let me try that again. What if I had session cookies that were not HTTP only? Right? Somebody didn't do that for their session cookie. What if instead of doing this, this is a UI based one. But what if I wrote a background script that did the same thing, right? But was constantly phoning home with session cookies from somebody? They'd be none the wiser. All right, thanks, Digital Warhead. Enjoy your meal. Because right now, we're doing this based on a UI. But don't forget that let's go back to our manifest here. So we could do background events with service workers, right? A background service worker is loaded when it is needed and unloaded when it goes idle. And so let's add the service worker, which we actually have done, right? We did background.js. We already loaded up the service worker. So what we can do, listen to the runtime on install extension to initialize an extension on installation. We don't want this because this isn't a per tab situation. How long will such a plugin survive in Google Store is the interesting question before they delete it. So, Bast, that's actually kind of the next part, which is I want to explore alternative extension delivery methods, right? You are absolutely correct. As a matter of fact, I bet you this won't even make it into something that's sufficiently evil, won't even make it into the Chrome store. Because they do review the code before you send it off. Like I've had specific conversations with the Chrome Web Store reviewers because they rejected Titler. And I was like, hey, I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, why did you reject this? And it was definitely because I was messing with the titles of tabs. They felt that was a bridge too far, that could confuse users, even though that was the entire purpose of the app. But whatever. Right? Create menus. Chrome.bookmarks on created add listeners. Every time we make a bookmark, we could do something. Look at this. So Chrome.web navigation on completed. Let's take a look at that. Every time we visit a page, right? That's wild. So we'll add the web navigation permission because we'll need that. And for my point, I'm also going to do cookies. So we could just kind of lay in the cut here and is it even possible to silently install an extension without user interaction in case it's your plan? I don't know, Bast. I don't know. But I'll bet you anything that if I were to package, because a CRX is just like you can create a Chrome extension. In fact, oh, I don't have npm installed. What did we need? Can't find module. Very funny. The CRX is basically just a glorified zip file. Yeah. And so there are some signature things that there may be protections against. I honestly don't know. Apparently, no. You can just, it says enable developer mode. Maybe. 2017. God. Let's load unpacked. We'll find out. But I'll tell you what else. In terms of persistence, Chrome extensions rule. Because for this one, we will go config, Brave software, Brave, profile 1, extensions. The user has write permissions to these folders. I mean, whatever. Let's just mess with this. Right? Whoa, that's interesting. Look at that. So it does sign it. It says this extension may have been corrupted. If we hit repair, what happens? Ooh, it reinstalls it. Interesting. I didn't know that, honestly. I didn't know that would happen. That is cool. Like, either way, good to know what the safety precautions are. So if you modify the HTML, because there's a signature that it generates, it hashes something. If we add stuff to the file system, does it also care? No. Okay. We change the write time on it. Nope, totally fine there. So it is doing some sort of file hashing here. Now, it's all going to be minified JavaScript. Wait, what did I just edit that it didn't care about? Options.js. Presumably as soon as that loads, it freaks out. Yeah. So there must be a cache somewhere that it's storing. And that just rewrites it. That's something to look into, how extensions are tracked. I thought if the browser runs it the first time, there will always be a user interaction required. Yeah, I think that's right. I just think that from a social engineering perspective, I'm wondering, like, you could imagine creating a fake Zoom extension for some reason, right? And people are going to install that. Because one of the things that I fight with on a daily basis is not drive-by downloads, but essentially what would be classified as a watering hole attack, or search result poisoning, where people will search for Zoom downloads, right? And then the promoted results are malware, not like this is the actual Zoom client. And that's what they click on. They get a bogus MSI or something like that, and they happily install it. And now all of a sudden there's malware on the system. Why? Because it's a trusted pipeline. That particular one is really interesting too, because they went and sought it out, right? So when you go and search something out, all of the vigilance that you have about like phishing emails is gone. That is not part of your flow anymore because you are seeking out the information. And because you are the one who is the agent in that scenario, you are more likely to trust the information that comes back. It's a little bit tricky that way, and that's why search engine or search result poisoning is so effective. I want to know what else you can do with Chrome web navigation, though. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. On completed. The object contains URL. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to, I'm going to spin up a little Python listener here. And what we're going to do is with every navigation, we're going to do a fetch. We'll do const URL equals HTTP / localhost 8000. And actually, we just do this e.url. Make these backticks so I could do template strings. Yeah. Easy. Okay. We're going to do fetch URL. For the life of me, I do not know why in the year of Marduk 2022, it's actually the year of Marduk would be way higher than that, but whatever. Why we're still using XML HTTP request. Fetch is a stable API. Let's use it. Let's use it in cross-site scripting payloads. Let's use it in stuff like this. Let's use it anytime you have to write JavaScript and send data someplace else. Use fetch. It's so much shorter. Especially if you have like character limited. Like I do not know of a reason why you would not use fetch. Okay. Let's see what this does. Service worker inactive. Yeah, is it? Ooh, it says server worker registration failed. That one's new. Completed. Oh, because cores. But that actually doesn't matter for our purposes, right? Yep, still sends. Look at that. So that's just going to happen anytime I go someplace, right? If I go to brave.com, let me pop this over here. Yes. Yes. So I've just created just a spy. Oh, interesting that the new tab didn't do it. Oh, nope, there it is. It just took a second. On navigation completed, right. That's pretty neat, I think. I don't know about you. I think this is cool. Oh, look at this. It's even getting the ad stuff that it sends out. That's so interesting. So it's just reporting on every navigation, right? Ad stuff, whatever. So if there's a get parameter, right, in the URL that they visit, we got him. And that was easy. We didn't even have to do, we didn't do cookies, but we could also do cookies. But yeah. So created by accident if someone has legal concerns. I've done nothing illegal. I haven't attempted to put this on somebody else's machine. I haven't disclosed any secrets whatsoever. I haven't even put this code on GitHub. I'm doing nothing that is outside the scope of ethical security research. Now, what other events are there? On committed, tab replaced, DOM content loaded. Yeah. That's not going to be enough to get like form data. Right. There isn't a form, is there? No. This is only on Chrome OS. But yeah, some of these are Chrome OS specific. Yeah, the proxy one is really interesting. Has warning, yes. Because the proxy is wild. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't realize it was that intense in Germany just by owning a Kali box. It's been nice to see that here in the United States, the Department of Justice has changed some of what it's doing. Now, that, keep in mind, is federal, not just, which isn't everything, right? But federal law for us is pretty much the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. And that stipulates that if you attempt to access or cause harm to government-owned computer systems that you do not have access, that you're not authorized to attempt access to, then you go to jail. But That's not the only hacking law. Every state has their own flavor of that. Oh, interesting. So this is literally just what the SOX proxy, like what all those extensions do. That's pretty funny. To play synthesized text to speech. That's just creepy. I didn't know you could do that. Ah, web request. Yeah, this is the one that I was looking at too. So web request is much more intense than web navigation. Can we go down to events? Oh, that's interesting. So you can write a filter for certain kinds of URLs where it's just you block it at the extension level. Right. So on before request. And then the response contains the method, the request body. So that's interesting too. Just to show you how that would look, we're going to write one of these. We need the web request permission. And then we're going to do one of these. The callback is going to be a function. And here, what we're going to do, I could quickly spin up something that handles post requests, but I'm lazy. So I'm going to do one of these. Yup. That's what I wanted. B2A. If you're not familiar, JavaScript has base64 encoding built right in. So, we're going to do that. Say, const encoded equals b2a e dot request body. And request body. And then we're going to just do fetch 1000. Encoded, like so. And the filter is going to be resource type. Nope. So we have to do a conditional here. So if e dot request method I forgot how to write conditionals in JavaScript. There we go. If post put hatch. That should work, because I think that's truthy. I shouldn't have to do like the is greater than 0 situation. But let me confirm that. Right. And then if I do like a index of B, oh crap. Stupid JavaScript. Even though -1 is falsy, which is what this returns. I do have to do the greater than or equal to 0. Yeah, there you go. It's so stupid. What a dumb gotcha. Even though it's falsy, you still, like, have to make sure to do that check. Hey, Dust on Keyboard. Good to see you. Right, so we are about ready to make this work. I just want to make sure that on before request options. Types blocking response, request headers. No. Form data. Come on. On before request. Right. Method, not request method, just method. Okay, why? So what we're doing here, what does localhost do? So localhost is listening for stuff right now. So I have one thing that it's listening to, which is any URL that I load. It's picking that up. Yep. And now it should be picking up form data and sending it base64 encoded. So let's go ahead and reload this guy. And So LATimes.com. I actually do have an LA Times account, but we're not going to use it. Ooh, that stopped sending. I is concerned. We got web navigation, web request. Did we get the name of the permission correct? No. Yeah. Frankly, insane that this one doesn't have a warning. This should absolutely have a warning. It's like, hey, this thing can see passwords. What are you doing? There was a thing about form data. All right, see ya, Mr. PC Fix It. Oh, this is just access to core stuff. No, this one says server worker registration failed, and why is that true? Error at parameter filter, missing required property URLs. Oh, okay. So the filter does need to actually have a thing. Now what's your problem? All right, let's go look at what the filter needs to look like, because plainly I'm not getting that correct. Request filter. An object describing filters to apply URLs. A list of URLs. It's a string. No, it's an array. Request that cannot. Oh. So if I do like star, does that work? What do you want from me? Ah. So it's going to be like star : / star. What about that? You like that? Oh no, that's a permission, not a filter. And I got active tabs, so... Oh, can I just do all URLs? Can I just do that? That's handy. And why would you make it like that? Here we go. Filter URL patterns such as, but it never says that it's, you could do like the all URLs thing. You need to request host permissions in the manifest file in order to be notified about requests from the web request API. In the manifest file. Oh, I think that means I have to specifically say that it's permissions for like that. You need to request host permissions in the manifest file. Let's go back and see what's up. I do want to get this right. You must declare the web request along with the necessary host permissions. Okay. Match pattern that gives you access to one or more hosts. Which we kind of did, right? Can we use the same kind of filter here? It would stand to reason that we could. Okay, let's leave that for the moment. All right, I'm getting the URLs again, so that's good news. So let's go to login. Admin. Oh, admin@admin.com. Password not valid. But it didn't show me anything. Yeah, it's not sending me data. User is auth. LA Times. No, I'm not. But okay. Okay. So we're not seeing... If post xe.method. method. Let's make this happen regardless. In fact, why are we doing this at all? If we just say like if e.requestBody. Ah, all URLs is an unknown or URL pattern is malformed. Hey, GoPro. How you doing, buddy? All right, doesn't like that. So we're going to do HTTPS star dot star. You sent me sailboats and spaceships? I missed that. Oh, you did. Oh, friend, thank you. God, WinterCon Extreme Mega Sailboat Edition. God, that boat looks so good. Oh, is that the one that's like... Ah, and you sent me a Renoir. Merci. And yes, exploding spaceships. I appreciate that that one was a little expensive for you to send. I appreciate the self-deprecation. Much appreciated. Yes, thank you. Day has gotten better. Okay, this is not related to anything, but since GoPro sent me pictures of a sailboat, just asking, like, is there anyone out there who also enjoys looking at houses you'll never be able to afford on Zillow? Is that a thing for us here? As a millennial, and as an Angelino, I love to look at the houses that I live around that I'm never ever going to be able to afford, which is all of them. But certainly the ones up in like Bel Air and Pacific Palisades and Malibu that are just, they're bananas. They're not houses, they're compounds. Anyway, it's important that you know that there's a next level to that game. The next level to that game is Yacht World. All right, so let's just, no, we'll do just everything. We'll search for everything. And we will sort by price, high to low. Now, the crazy thing about the yacht industry that I have learned from spending time on Yacht World is that it is incredibly speculative. Oh, and by the way, if you're looking for a Russian oligarch yacht, this is the place. You will definitely find some Russian oligarch yachts on Yacht World. But in addition, there are like speculative yachts that haven't been built yet. So it's like, put your order in now. Look at this one in Antibes. That looks like a Russian oligarch yacht. We'll take a look at that one. Like, some of these are real. 90 million. The Lurson's definitely real. This Fraser yacht, that's definitely real. But some of them, as you start looking through them, will be totally just CG. Right? They won't exist. Like, this one isn't real yet. Oh, this is a good one, too. This Trimaran with a helipad up front. Doesn't exist. Right? But they're just like, if you want it built, you can drop your cash now. But these definitely exist, right? Not for sale to U.S. residents while in U.S. waters. Very good. Just insane. Like, any one of these rooms is bigger than the house I'm living in. Oh, God. And if you really want to go for it, Fraser Yachts and all these have YouTube channels where they do walkthroughs. These yachts get like trailers. Oh yeah, this one screams Russian oligarch. You can always tell because they're always so baroque. On 50-30. Oh, 20-30? I was like, 50-30 might be more realistic from a compound interest standpoint. I heard Monaco is pretty well. Look at this. This is a boat. Yeah, okay. Okay, we'll do one more. This one might have a submarine on it. Yeah, they make some of these that are like explorer yachts. They still have a full bar and whatever, but they're meant for exploring, which basically means that their hull is strengthened to do a little bit of ice cutting. And they also tend to have more tenders, and sometimes they will have cranes for submersibles. Yeah. Like that. At 59 million euros. What? Okay, so this is the insane part of it. Obviously, this is, you know, we're deep in eat the rich territory here. I'll take a used aircraft carrier. Hey, the big E is still up for grabs. I don't think they've decided what to do with CVN 65. A little light radiation, if you don't mind that, but you know. Okay, but here's the part that's really gonna I'll do near me. So if I go to North America, United States, I'll do California. And I'll do... Wait! Chad! You served on Big E? That's awesome. That's really cool. Cell Block 65. Yeah, to prison. Yeah, I imagine that the Nimitz classes ended up being a lot more luxurious by comparison. And then who even knows about the Ford? Too bad about those cats, though, huh? All right, let's take a look at what's going for sale near me. Marina del Rey, Long Beach. I'm getting to a point here, and the point is, we'll do price of minimum 800,000. Please turn that on. Okay, and then we'll sort low to high. My favorite story about the Big E was that on September 11th, right? She was sailing back. Maybe you were aboard. She was sailing back from the Persian Gulf, right? When the towers got hit. And then without really waiting for orders, the CO, the skipper was like, "We're turning this ship around." And took yep. Now, I have a lot of problems with what ended up happening next for the rest of my life. But that is an interesting story. Okay, point I was trying to make is that I'll drop it down to actually like 300,000. Real seal ever for a sailboat with wood hull, not fiber. You get a huge price anyway. Oh yeah, total agree. And in fact, if I were to just focus on sailboats, okay, so here's a good 48 footer in Long Beach for sale for $450,000. So the point I'm trying to make here, when was it built? 2000. So actually not even that old, assuming it was. Yeah, the maintenance is bad, but here's the deal. This is more house than I could afford as a house. Nice galley. 2 bathrooms. Technically 2 bedrooms. I mean, whatever. Anchor off of Catalina for a few days, anchor off of Malibu for a few days, just pop around, head into the marina when you need to. This isn't like a real idea, but it's wild to me that it's literally more affordable to get a yacht than a actual like house for people. All right. Just unknown URL. Okay, can I just do like latimes.com just as a test? Oh, no. This worked, I think. No, it didn't. Oh yeah, Sin. Believe me, I know. I did? All right, let's see if this works. So I'm getting new URLs. All right, now if I do login, admin@admin.com, test 1 2 3. Still not getting form data. And it's because of this. All right. Chrome extension host permissions. Yeah, happiest day of boat owners are buying day and selling day. They are the deepest money drain. Oh yeah, no, for sure. I suspect homeowners may feel the same way in some ways. Obviously, it's a different situation. Match patterns. Finally, public matched. The special pattern all URLs matches any URL that starts with a permitted scheme. Each match pattern is 3 parts. So we could use that before. I wanted a plane. Wife wanted a house. I argue that you can live in a plane but can't fly a house. You'd think Harrison House is still married. Well, yeah. Were you, Chad, as I've often fantasized about, trying to find an aftermarket C-130 that you could renovate into the interior of to make it homey? They're spacious. A C-172. Oh man. I mean, the C-130 can live. Yeah. Cessna for flight training. So you can do, I would say, you know, if you really want to have fun, go for a Piper Cub. And then go for your bush pilot rating. Because then the Piper Cub, you can land anywhere. Yeah, these things. If you haven't seen what bush pilots do, go look that up. Because they're insane. These are the pilots who like land on strips of dry riverbed in Alaska, right? No, while we're on the topic, I have 2 dream renovation airplanes if I ever got a chance to do it. My whole family are pilots, by the way. I'm not because it's insanely expensive. But my whole family are pilots. And so the 2 planes, they're both World War II vintage warbirds. If I ever got a chance to restore the F-7F Tiger Cat, I would jump at that. Look at this beautiful airplane. Not a lot of people know about the Tiger Cat. It was the last of the World War II era cats from Grumman. And it technically entered service. It technically entered service at the end of the war. People often believe that it entered service after World War II, but that's not true. It entered service in 45 and saw some service hours in Okinawa, and Saipan. And I know that because my grandfather was there with them in 45. And so, as you can see, they were marine aircraft, so they didn't operate from carriers. They operated from... They didn't... So they built, not compared to like the Hellcats or the Bearcats, they didn't build a lot of them, but they built a fair number. Here's the thing about... So the F-7F also had... It was converted later to have a radar, which was kind of cool. And then it became used often as a firefighting airplane and a search and rescue airplane after the war. It saw some Korea action as well. But the other thing that made the F-7F so unique is its power to weight ratio. This thing could climb at like 10,000 feet per minute. OV-10, the Bronco's a cool one. The other one for me, also World War II, is the Catalina. But I think this is mainly because I watched Tailspin when I was a kid. Right? So these were cool. The PBY Catalina was a search and rescue airplane. It was designed to rescue pilots who had ditched. DuckTales and Tailspin. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Rescue Rangers, all good. Yep, exactly. But Tailspin had the airplane, and basically that's why I asked for boats and planes. Basically, if it isn't a car, I don't know why cars don't do it for me, but if it's a vehicle that travels, not on the ground, it excites me. So yeah, the Catalina is a beautiful airplane, and you know, it's roomy inside, sort of. I've seen people who've converted it into like living space. Okay, why can't we do the all URLs? We tried it, and then what happened? Did we get yelled at? How? Maybe we're doing this wrong. Aha! We are doing it wrong. You want to pilot to DEF CON next year? You have to pick me up on the way. I am extremely out of the way, right? I think, unless you're in Cali and I don't know it, you're gonna have to pass Vegas and come back. But hey, I'm down. Ah, that's our problem. This should be inside of host permissions. Doable? Rad. You want a boat and a plane, why not buy the Grotto plan? Caspian Sea Monster? I don't know if they're for sale. Okay, let's try this. Trailing comma is not allowed. There's a trailing comma? Oh. Wow. Hey, look, no errors. Okay. Now. All right. So again, we're getting LA Times. Right, so we're getting the URL stuff. And now, if I log in, test 1, 2, 3. Boo. I'm not picking this up, and I'm wondering if it's because... Oh, I've got errors. Because I messed this up a little bit, didn't I? Yeah, there we go. And then I need to have that filter. Yeah. Okay. Let's try this again. Oop. Filter. Expected array, found string. Ah. That was old. Yeah, no new errors. Okay. LA Times. Are we still getting... Yep, we're still getting data. Okay. Good connections. You can buy everything from Russia. Isn't there just like one of those Arcana plan left? Okay. What errors do we get? Still no errors. Let's try it on something that isn't JavaScript heavy. Try PHP page. Admin 1, 2, 3. Damn it. If e.request method, and that's the on before request. So let's check out for requests. Request body contains the details. Oh, we got to return a blocking response is maybe the problem. Oh no. Returns values for event handlers that have the blocking extra info spec applied. Show me an example. Details, which we're not doing. We're just calling it E. Web request samples. What else you got for me? God. Some Google documentation is excellent, but this is hot garbage. All right, we didn't get anything that was B, right? No. All URL data. Oh, you know what? Hold on. If you're a request body, dot length is greater than 0. Let's give that a shot. Sometimes it's about the before request. The details. Object. The object contains the request body. Only provided if extra info spec contains request body. I think that might be why. So we have to give it the extra info spec. So if we go to the examples, right? See, so this one has blocking as the extra info spec, right? So we actually need to give it request body. Okay, I'm feeling better about that because now we have a reason why that wasn't working. All right, back to LA Times we go. Ooh, I stopped getting data errors. What you got for me? Cannot read properties of undefined reading length. Oh, of course. We're going to do one of these. So we're just messing around, GoPro. But the purpose of the extension, once we get this going, or what it's going to end up doing, is so we're already phoning home basically every visit to every URL. Now, if we get this working, we're also going to report base64 encoded every single form request. And just to demonstrate how that would look, that's basically what we're doing. Yeah. Now, it's, as we discovered, it's somewhat constrained evil. And the reason it's constrained is because the browser does have... Oh, hey, we are getting data here. There we go. It just took a second. Okay. Yes! There it is. Okay, so we just got... This is the request body. So if we... Oh, are you freaking kidding me? Of course. Thank you, JavaScript. Thank you so much. That's great. Oh no, it's stored. It's stored. We just got to figure out how to get at it. Yeah. The request body contains... see? Form data. Yeah. If the request is posted in the body is a sequence of key value pairs encoded in UTF-8. Raw. If the request the body's not report. Yeah. So we're gonna do request body dot raw. And just checking my JavaScript here. That's how you join an array. Good, good, good. Okay. Data coming in. Okay. Cannot read properties of undefined join. Okay. Actually, hold on a second. Because it's form data, right? And we do have a form data object here. So formed, if the request method is post and the body is a sequence of key value pairs encoded UTF-8, encoded as either multiport or formula encoded, this dictionary is present and for each key contains the list of all values for that key. If the data is of another media type or is malformed, the dictionary is not present. That's wild. So what that means, just so we're clear, what that means is that if it's if the content type is listed as application/JSON, it won't it won't show form data. It'll just show raw, right? And the body is not already parsed into form data, then the unparsed. So we have to handle form data first. So the thing is, it's a key value pair. And so just for us to be able to base64 encode it, right? We're going to do JSON.stringify. And what JSON.stringify does is A1, B2, right? So that gives us a nice JSON string. And then that we can then B2A just fine. And that's what we want to do. So if e.formData stop body dot, so dot instead of dot join, we're going to do B2A JSON.stringify. It's getting large. There we go. JSON.stringify. I'm writing that in Middle English, apparently. JSON.stringify. E.requestBody. And we do not need... Actually, that's not right. So e.formData. Okay. That's good. And the other possibility, right, is if requestBody.raw. Let me find... Oop. Yeah. Yes. In this case, it would be e.formData.raw .join. And that's what we B2A. All right. No errors so far. No errors there. Okay. Coming back in. Boo. Undefined. So we're getting data, but what? We're gonna get this. I'm gonna figure this out. What is going on here? I'm not picking up any data here. It's not showing me any errors here. The service worker isn't showing me anything. Did I do something funny in my JavaScript? Questbody.if. Yeah. Getting a lot of stuff blocked, but none of the localhost stuff. So, because I'm only sending, I'm not receiving. The cores isn't an issue. So something else is going on, and weirdly, my extensions window isn't showing me any. Like, there are errors. Let's remove it and re-add it. Okay. No, it's not showing any errors whatsoever. So for whatever reason then, nothing in the network tab. Let's view the service worker here. So oh, it is actually showing URL stuff. What is happening? It's a good call. I'll be damned. Why isn't it picking it up on my Python listener? It was before. Oh, that's so funny. Look at that. I just clicked on this and it worked. Oh, Taggart, you idiot. Well, chat, why wasn't it showing me any URL events? Yeah, that's the UI component we showed for it. No one was clicking. It was cached. There it is. The data was cached. So it wasn't loading Jack. That's why. Okay, that's just undefined again. We're gonna, now that we know that we can make a console.log, we're gonna do console.log e.requestBody. Hey, Sin. So it's plainly there. So, but yeah, but I want to report it. I want to get it out. So, form data. So, if e.form data. All right, we're going to do one of these. Debugging with console.log. A story as old as time itself. The hell? Okay, and that's coming from 14. So it does see that it's form data. So JSON to stringify e. Oh, good God. I wasn't getting the right object. e.requestBody. Form data. And this should be request body too. Welp. All right. Now. Are you kidding me? Did I not reload it? Yeah, there we go. Oh, I don't have JQ installed? Ah, come on. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, JQ. Very funny that the username is in an array. That these values are in an array. That's how form data works, I guess. But yeah. Okay, so this is obviously evil. Could you deliver it to somebody? Kinda. It's a very 2010. You need to pack the app using the following command line. Path to dev channel, Chrome, enable apps, pack extension, path to app folder. This will create a valid CRX file. Does that still work? Let's find out. Well, if we could do it, can we do it with Brave? So if we do Brave browser, enable apps, pack extension. I'll be damned. Look at that. We just got a CRX. Even though we got an error, that was mainly about the fact that there's no GUI, because we're launching it this way. But that's fine. Now, let's see what happens when we do this. Let's remove the evil extension as is, and then let's go to localhost 888. What happens? Still just says CRX. But if I click on it, all right, if I associate it with this. Oh, it didn't like that at all. So I made Brave crash. I have two different versions of this open. Under extensions, there's also a pack extension option. Oh. I wonder if that's still there. Ugh, good job, doofus. Let's remove the key. Okay, so now if I do Python localhost 888. It's not really doing what I need it to do here. Okay, so we packed the extension. But okay, what happens if? Because I saw this happen someplace else. Oh, I've got the CRX. If I drag and drop it, hell yes. Okay, so it alerts on your it alerts on your permissions, just like an Android app or mobile app, right? I hit add extension. Now, are we cooking? Yeah, we are. So this is like a doable thing. Now, let's talk about the other version of this that I don't think works. Let's remove it, right? What I don't think works, if we look at yeah, let's go back to the config folder that we were looking at before. Config. And again, this would, on Mac OS, this is going to be in library, application support, Google Chrome, or whatever. Like any Chromium browser is going to have its folder like this. On Windows, it's going to be in app data. Okay. Default is the default profile, and then profile 1. It will name additional profiles like profile N. So profile 1, and then there's an extensions folder. Okay. Now there's this built-in this one. Notice that it matches this ID here. That's ColorZilla. Notice that it is not tracking titler at all. Right? There's no MPELO. And I honestly don't know why that's true. But I cannot, I'm pretty sure. Let me go to projects and like, I don't think I can just copy this in. Yeah, that's not going to work because it hasn't been registered. So I can't just move it in, unfortunately. So from a payload standpoint, the question would be, can you convince somebody to download a CRX and install it, right? And then how does this work, right? How does the Chrome store work? Because there's that add to Chrome button. Well, what is that button doing? Let's go away. Let's maximize this and bring the inspector over like a lot more so we can look at the event listeners, because there's got to be a click event listener on this thing. Yeah, this is the thing we're clicking on. Oh, brother. I feel like there's got to be like a URI scheme or something that allows us to do this. Is there like an F-droid for Chrome extensions? Oh, interesting. If you've never opened up flags in your browser, do it. It's kind of wild, all the stuff that you can enable and disable in your browser. While we're on the topic of crazy pages, if you are a Brave user, also you might want to check out discards. Discards will show you all the tabs that it loads and unloads automatically. So if you want a tab to always be active, so for example, like I have a problem with my work computer where my tabs will get unloaded and I constantly have to, when I go to reload it, or so when I go to click on it, I should say, it reloads because it's been discarded. If you want to force it to remain in memory, you can do that. But if I like do a urgent discard on Taggart Tech, right? If I go back over to it, see how it reloaded. Or I could force it to remain constantly loaded. So you have some actual manual memory management with Brave, which is kind of cool. I honestly don't know if Chrome has this. Hey, Ripen Avocado, thank you for the follow. And I missed a couple of others. Danny P, thank you for the follow as well. Right, but the MIME type that we're talking about is extension. It enables running extensions on Chrome URLs where extensions explicitly request this permission. Oh no, that's fine. What was it? Extension MIME. No, it's still saying drag and drop. I don't want that. I want like... alternative ways to distribute extensions. Yes, yes. Tell me, server admins, how to do this the wrong way. I feel like this is for a different thing. Yeah, GPO mostly, but then how do they do it, right? Extensions. Create a new key or folder under extensions with the same name as the ID of your extension. For example, create key with the name A, B, C. In the extensions Key, create the update URL property, set the value to... Huh. So could we just do that? Use a preferences JSON file. It's available on the machine that the extension will be installed on. Copy the CRX extension file to a local directory or use a network share that is reachable from the machine. Create a JSON file where the name of the file corresponds to the ID of your extension. And the ID, by the way, I could be wrong, but I believe it's like the hash of the signature. It says you get an extension. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just a calculation off the key. So we can figure that out. So if we would load our extension. Well, actually, my bad. So basically, we'll do the same thing. We're going to go to projects, drag and drop, add extension. And let's just make sure that it is reproducible, right? Yep, it's the same every time, which it should be. Because by the way, these IDs are global. This if you installed Titler on your computer, it would be the same there. This has been a long stream. This is so interesting, though. Okay, hold on. I want to try to do this. So if I do an external CRX, and what was the version of the manifest JSON? Yeah. So if I do config Brave browser, okay. There is no extensions. Let's just look this up. Pretty sure. I think you can do this. External extensions, which we actually did see. No? There is no external extensions. But I think if we make it, okay, and then we vim Thank you, Clipboard. Yeah, it's okay. And the external version is 0.1.0. Yeah. So this is for, let's see if this works. If we close that profile and we open it back up, nuts. Okay, so more research to be done there, but it seems like there is a way to directly load extensions via one of these JSON files, which means, I know it seems goofy, but like, hear me out. Let's say that you got some sort of persistence on a system, right? And you wanted to check out what somebody was doing in their browser. An easy way to do that then would be to get a Chrome extension loaded into their browser so that, like what we were doing here, you could actually see all of the URLs that they were going to, as well as all of the form data being sent to you in a much easier way than like the beef, like the browser exploitation framework or something like that, which is a little bit shaky. So this might be kind of a fun thing to do. I'm gonna keep poking at this and see if we can come up with something, because I don't know how much folks have done with this. Probably more than I know, because I've seen malicious extensions get installed on the sly. So there's definitely a way to do this. And yeah, so that is, I think, a good stopping point for tonight. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. I had a lot of fun, learned stuff. I hope you did too. I will, of course, be back on Saturday. Doesn't look like I have any streamers in English at the moment, so I'm going to send you all on your merry way. Thanks so much for hanging out, and until next time, friends, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy hacking. We'll see ya.